Redditors assemble. r/AskReddit. Teachers, what was the best smart-ass response from a student you have heard? Had my class of working-class kids at an art gallery. As we waited for our tour to begin, we played on the small playground near the door. A prep school kid in a uniform approached two of my boys and said, "I bet I'm smarter than you are." I watched to make sure no blood was drawn. My students can hold their own pretty much anywhere and they don't accept insults casually. But they were cool. "No, you're not. Are you in grade 2? The boy said he was, and one of my boys said, "So then we're all grade 2. So we are all grade 2 smart." He went back to climbing the monkey bars. But the prep school kid continued, "I know I'm smarter. Let's do some math and I'll prove it." The toughest kid in my room looked this guy square in the eye and said, "Well, I'm smart enough not to do math when I'm having fun on a playground. That's pretty damn smart. That is just so freaking great." My history teacher would spend half the class making jokes directed at the students. One student in particular always took the jokes on the chin and never really made any comebacks. Eventually, the teacher called him out and jokingly lectured him about standing up for himself. He ended his rant with, "You've gotta be a man. You've gotta be like me." The student replied with, "Well, which one? Do you want me to be a man or do you want me to be like you? Hey Vasquez, have you ever been mistaken for a man?" "No. Have you?" Did the teacher survive? It was dicey for a while, but after multiple skin grafts he's returned home. His teaching career is over though. As God is my witness, he is broken in half. An HS or functions and relations teacher would always start to say something, forget it and say, "I lost my train of thought." Well, one day a buddy of mine replies, "It's okay, sir. There were no important passengers on board." To turn the question around, I was in class once and one the student said, "Wait, I had a thought." And my teacher responded, "Was it lonely?" Had a chemistry teacher in secondary school, the original mad scientist type. Old, Northern Irish, we were in the Republic. Used to reminisce about when it was acceptable to beat students, light our hands on fire whenever new parents were touring the school, etc. One day a kid was telling a story one of my dad's friends. Before immediately being cut off, "Don't be silly, Mark. Your dad doesn't have any friends." Q-boy shutting up for rest of the year. Another time a girl in our class, who was in a wheelchair, said she went for a walk around the grounds with so-and-so the other day when again, immediately interrupted with, "It's funny that you say it like that. Because, you know, you can't walk." Looking back on it, he may have been a bit of an asshole. I'm not a teacher, but I had a friend in school who was always pretty dramatic. She actually did have vibes though. So we're in this bitchy teacher's class and she keeps asking to use the bathroom. The teacher says no. My friend's like, "I have vibes though." And the teacher is like, "Tell me what those initials mean and I will let you go." So, she screams, "It means I have to shit," and takes off out of the room. A more common version of this is, "Girl, can I use the bathroom?" Male teacher, "Yes." Girl, picks up bag. Male teacher, loudly, "Why do you need your bag to go to the toilet?" I once saw a girl answer something like, "'Cause some of us bleed from our vaginas." Want me to get you proof? He just apologized and never made the same question to anyone again. I had a chemistry teacher tell me I couldn't use the bathroom, so I got up and said, "Either you let me leave to use the bathroom or I'm gonna bleed all over the seat." He never once told me no again. I had a teacher publicly shame me for having to go get new pants after bleeding through. Almost got a referral. Well, this one was during coaching classes for entrance exams. The maths teacher reduced a given problem to a simpler form and challenged the students, so this expression doesn't fit any of the given standard forms for us to find the particular integral. So what do you propose we do? A kid from the back shouted the next question. This sounds like my entire calculus class my senior year. Yeah, we had so much sass it felt like a class on Ruby. Teacher, have you learned how to find speed in physics? Salutatorian, I know a guy, you want his number? The atmosphere was so unlike any other class. NASA is researching it to reconstruct the ozone layer. I did nothing but make puns in physics. Teacher explains to us that a car crash has enough force to make a tissue box lethal. He asks us what the cause of death was for the man in the accident, and I blurted out, "Extensive tissue damage, I would assumed." Not a teacher, but witnessed a student. We had a substitute who was leafing through the yearbook and got to the senior superlatives. Our school mascot was the Eagles. She started reading some if then aloud and said, "Oh, that's nice." Sarah, most school-spirited a student, answered back, "Yeah, because she's always spread eagle." The substitute couldn't keep from laughing, as much as she tried not to. Damn, I had an eagle as my high school mascot. Wish I'd thought of that one. Let me point out that I'm female since people will assume I'm a guy. I taught in an inner city school. We were talking about prime numbers, so I would have kids give me a number and we'd work out if the number was a prime number on the board. One kid wasn't paying attention, so me being a young teacher, I thought I'd catch him off guard and call on him. It went something along the lines of, "Mark, do you have a number?" "Huh? I need your number." "Cheat? Play it cool. Girl, we can talk after class." The whole room lost their shit and I turned red from embarrassment. They then laughed at how red I got. This is one of my only complaints about being white. Everyone can tell if I'm embarrassed and all my non-white friends think it's hilarious. I witnessed a rather sad one. In my chemistry class sophomore year, one of my friends was going through some family issues, and his dad just left for a year or so. The kid was acting up in class and the teacher was like, "Do you want me to call your dad?" And he was like, "If he picks up, tell him to come home soon." This reminds me of when I was a student. My granddad had died. It was my first day back after his death. I was still really upset by his passing and a teacher said, "You look like somebody just died." In true teenage fashion, I ran straight to the bathroom, locked myself in, and cried like a baby. A kid in my math class would sleep on his desk. One day the teacher called on him to answer a problem on the chalkboard. He woke up, solved the problem on the board with zero difficulty, and then just went back to sleep. The teacher repeated the same thing a few times with similar results, and then just let him sleep the rest of the year. A kid mocked me when I said, "Don't do that." I started to yell at him and he said, "No man, that's a song." He then spontaneously came up with the rap song called "Don't Do That" and his friends started making beats. I was no longer mad. Does this work for being pulled over? My friend, Brian, was in his homeroom room class back in high school. The topic of abortion came up as everyone was asking each other why they're either against or pro-abortion. We're in Texas, so you can assume the ideas and opinions of the majority of the class. So my friend is a very intelligent and quiet fellow, minding his own business in a corner of the room. The class turns to him to get his opinion on the matter. Someone, "Brian, you've been quiet over there. So what about you? Are you pro-abortion?" "Brian? Well, I wouldn't say I'm pro, but I'm pretty good with a coat hanger." Jaws drop. The room is silent as everyone is registering what just happened. Glad I made it to school that day. I like that you started off your story with appropriate beginning of the chapter formatting. There was a kid in my brother's speech class who gave his persuasive speech on pro-abortion. Not pro-choice, pro-abortion. Apparently it was hilarious. Pro-choice. No, I'm not pro-choice. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like killing babies, but I don't want to give women a choice. What state? This is sort of a flip from the question, but there was this awesome history teacher I had freshman year of high school who was just always in an amazing mood. We'll call him Mr. Smith. One day everyone is sitting in class waiting for the tardy bell to ring when a kid sneaks a condom onto the door handle. The bell rings and Mr. Smith walks into the room, grabs the handle to close the door, and pulls the condom off of it. Looks at the condom helmet for a split second and stuffs it into his pocket while saying, "Thanks, I'll need this later." I got another flip of the script. One day in chemistry class, this kid that sat a couple rows behind me was drawing things on an orange. Just random doodle shit. A face on one side. That every kid drew on another. But on one spot he drew a peanuts, as one would do, and the teacher saw it. Instead of making him put it away or cover it up, he asked, "Why are you drawing a peanuts on your food? Do you like to eat peanutses?" No kid has ever turned that red. On a similar peanuts liking story, I was playing the peanuts game, where you keep saying peanuts is louder and louder until one of you gives up or gets yelled at. In my freshman year with a buddy of mine, a teacher walks by and says, "Now I know you two are passionate about them, but please stop yelling about peanutses." Thanks, but it's not parents' evening yet. Entire high school classroom exposed to third-degree burns. Dang teacher held accountable for the horror. In high school, one of my teachers was having a disagreement with a student. I can't remember what it was about, but finally the teacher asked him if she wanted her to call his mother. The student replies, "Do it then. My mama will agree with me too." The teacher then asks him to leave her class. He goes, "You know what, I'm gonna call my mom for you." He then whips out his cell phone and calls his mom on speaker. "Hey, Ma, this teacher want to talk to you." The whole class just lost it. My wife, when she was in high school, had a pay teacher that pulled this kind of thing. The class was doing some exercises, but my wife kept finishing them faster than the lazier students. So, She would be standing around waiting for the rest of the students to finish. The teacher accused her of not doing them. My wife said she had done them, and they argued back and forth a bit. The teacher then decided to call my wife's father to get her in trouble or something. The teacher actually got a hold of him on speakerphone so the whole class could listen. The teacher tells him all about how your daughter says she finished her exercises, but is clearly lying and won't do more exercises or something. My father-in-law, who was a partner in a very successful business law firm, listens quietly through the whole thing and then responds with, my normal billing rate is large number of dollars per hour. Don't waste my time with this crap. If my daughter says she did the exercises then she did them. Don't ever call me again. And then hung up. The teacher immediately told everyone to get back to their exercises for the day and never brought it up again. How that teacher probably made sure to use speakerphone just to embarrass your wife. Guess that backfired. Oh, definitely. I actually interacted with that teacher a few times. I wasn't in her pay class, but she had covered for my paid teacher a few times, and she was definitely the type to do that. A bit more malicious than was really necessary. And my father-in-law wasn't trying to be a dong. He just is very straightforward. I think he had to step out of a consultation to answer the call, which was why he brought up the billable rape thing. Though I have no problem believing that my wife might have been being a bit more sarcastic and argumentative than the situation warranted too. Kids. Hurrah. Father-in-law? Father-in-law? I see what you did there. I've taught preschool 4 years, and one of my favorite dad responses to children who are being whiny just to whine is the hi. I'm your teacher. Egg. I'm thirsty. Hi thirsty. I'm your teacher. Anyway, one day, after a long week, I sat down to lunch with my class, preschool. Remember? 4 or 5-year-olds, and say to a child we'll call him Tommy. Oi, Tommy, I'm really tired today. Without skipping a beat, he swallows his mac and cheese, looks me right in the eyes and says, hi, really tired. I'm Tommy. That was the day I knew I had taught him all I could. I'm a preschool teacher too, and for some reason that age group getting humor is the funniest thing ever. We have a student who has English as a second language, and one day as he was eating his lunch he announced to the group, I'm really liking this smashed potato. Cuban sitting next to him snorting mashed potato out of his nose. Not a teacher, but this happened in an upper-level French class where you can only speak French. If you speak English, the teacher scolds you in French. My friend walked in a few minutes late for a quiz and wasn't allowed to take it. My friend looked at the teacher and said, in English, that's bullshit. The teacher looked back angrily and said, also in English, what did you just say, my friend? En français, monsieur. He got kicked out of the class. In French class we had one guy say to his friend, oh, you bastard. Right as the teacher walked in front of them and the whole class got quiet, we thought they were in for it. Instead, she goes, en français, c'est bâtard. Sometimes, you just need to swear in a different language. It's all words after all. Steer she's. Not me, but a colleague told me this story. It was one of his first years teaching, so he was about 22-24 at the time. It was a junior high science class and he told a student to stop messing around and get back to work. The student's response, man, I got bitches older than you. All I'm looking at right now is a bitch younger than me. Back to work. Samuel L. Jackson. All I'm looking at right now is a bitch younger than me. Back to work, Mr. Fricker. Samuel L. Jackson. Fix that for you. One of my math classes this want to be thugs snapped back at the teacher. I ask my bitches questions, I don't answer questions. The teacher responded with, how many bitches do you have? How much do they charge? How many hours per night? Dudes just throwing out random numbers and the teacher was breaking it down on the chalkboard. Gets to the end, says, looks like you're making less than minimum wage. Or your bitches are holding out. Either way, I suggest you pay attention so you don't keep getting underpaid. Dude never talked back in that class again. My sister, who is a teacher, was taking her kindergarten class through the lunch line. Well, this day was St. Patrick's Day, so there was green cupcakes. My sister told the class, jokingly, don't eat too many cupcakes, or you'll turn green. A young black boy looks up at her and says, Miss Carey, I ain't never seen a green brother before. Today I learned brothers don't get jealous. We had a teacher that would always threaten to phone our home if we were misbehaving, which she promptly stopped after. Teacher, what would your mother say if I called home right now? Student, she would say hello. Our teacher was teaching us about the states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas. He was talking about how solid you can break into littler pieces, but how you can't do the same to liquids or gases. So I blurt out, "But you can break wine." I still talk to that teacher and he says it was the best part of his teaching career. This was in 6th grade. That is gold right there. Not enough for gold though. Student in my Spanish class was sleeping, like always. Teacher finally got tired of it and tried to embarrass him by waking him up and yell at him in Spanish. The student responded with, "I'm back here minding my own business, not causing any sort of distractions at all, and you decide to stop everyone's learning by trying to make me look stupid. We all know I have no idea what you're saying, so please stop disrupting the class and let me go back to not bothering anyone." She never said another word to him. In my friend's engineering class, there was this one guy that fell asleep in the front row and everyone started to notice, including the professor. The prof then told the rest of the class that he's allowed to sleep because he had the highest mark in the class. LOL. My dad tells a story of when he was a TA teaching a class in physics. He was working on some calculus problem on the board and got to within a few lines of the end and realized he'd messed up and wouldn't get the correct answer. He turned to the class and said, "Somebody wake Bob." I don't remember the guy's name, and asked where I screwed up. At the mention of his name, Bob woke up, looked at the board, said third line and promptly went back to sleep. My dad found his mistake, said thanks, and continued teaching. This is what happens when you're a good student or have gotten into your teacher's good book. They cut you slack. This is a life lesson that is applicable in every facet of life. That would have been equally epic if he said that in Spanish. I've told this story on Reddit before, but this really shy kid that doesn't really speak much was getting picked on by this mean girl when the teacher tells her be nice to him. He might be your boss someday. Without missing a beat he replies, "No thanks. I don't want to be a pimp when I grow up. Dumb. Fuckk. Shit. I've seen this a million times." Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please smash the like button and leave a comment which story you liked the most. Subscribe and hit the bell notification for updates on our latest videos. And don't forget to check the links in the description box for more awesome content.